Welcome, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are so excited to welcome you today to the Driving K-12 Innovation Summit 2023. As you're coming in, I would love for you to introduce yourself in the chat, where you're from, where you're joining us from today. And we do have an icebreaker question for you. And that question is, what's something on your desk, a nearby wall, or out the window that cheers you up during the day? So be sure to introduce yourself and feel free to unmute or put in the chat. For me, and we were kind of just talking, the presenters, so we're talking about this for a second, but for me, it's the luxury of having a window. And I always have loved the fall, but the spring has become a new favorite when I get to see the colorful birds at a tree right outside my window. So that for me is something that cheers me up. And Laura, what about you?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree about the window comment, but I also have two cats who come in and help me take myself less seriously throughout the days. They walk in front of Zoom cameras and whatnot. That's one thing about having so many remote meetings. I love seeing people's pets and kids and a window into their lives.
What an evolution, right? I remember I have two kids. Anyone on the ad board probably knows I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. And I used to be so embarrassed or nervous at the beginning of the pandemic when they would pop on my computer. And now it's just so different. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the summit. If you're just joining us, please be sure to check out our icebreaker question today and introduce yourself in the chat. We are so happy that you're here with us today. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know we have friends joining us from around the globe, all over the world. And thank you so much for making time to be here today. Okay, let's see. I'm popping in the chat to see. Oh, gratitude journal. What a great one. Oh, frame quote of Anthony Bourdain. Fun fact. Anthony Bourdain lived in my sister's building in New York City. And so I got to see him once on the elevator. So great man. All right, I'm scrolling. See my grandchildren. Oh, Cheryl, that sounds lovely. I love that. And oh, view of the mountains, Carly. You've got me beat. I'm just outside Chicago, no mountains to be had. Very, very flat. Jane, when the sun's out, I agree. We have a sunny day. It's 20 degrees here, but at least it's sunny. So that is a wonderful thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, Brian, 35 degrees. Yes, I hope that we see 35 too. Wow. Pennsylvania, it's so wonderful to see where everyone's from.
Definitely, and definitely keep these answers and introductions rolling. The flow of people into the room, out of the waiting room has slowed down. What do you think, Steph? Should we put a pin in this and move on?
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's get started. Okay, so before we do get started, a few housekeeping things. So just so you know, you are being recorded today. So if you choose to not, or this event is being recorded. So if you choose to not want to be, recorded or on camera, just mute your audio, use those Zoom functions and just kind of hang out, listen. One thing we do want to mention, though, is that the breakout rooms are not being recorded. So that is an open space for you to participate. And we definitely encourage you to do so, because today is all about amplifying voices and making sure that we're listening and connecting with each other. So just a bit of housekeeping there. But welcome to the Driving K-12 Innovation Summit. We are so happy that you're here with us today. I am so energized to be with you. My name's Stephanie King. I'm the communications manager. You may also have seen me in the online forum. I work with the reports and all the emails and get the pleasure of working with my good friend, Laura Geringer.
Hello, hello. I've been with this project for several years. I'm the project director. And today I'm also going to be the graphic facilitator. So when we come back from breakouts and you share your ideas, I'll be doing live sketch notes to capture some of that. You've seen our friend Karina Branson do this for discussion calls. She sends her best. She is out with her brand new twin babies at the moment, so she can't be here
Yay.
today. So I'll be filling that role.
And I am Keith Kruger, CEO of COSIN, and particularly thrilled. First of all, I want to thank Laura and Stephanie for the great job they've done in keeping us on task. One of COSIN's 3 strategic goals is around driving innovation, and this global research project is part of that. In fact, it's the centerpiece of our work that we do each year. For 15 years, COSIN has, for the first 10 years, we partnered with another organization who led this effort. That organization went out of business, so we took it over 5 years ago, rebranded it Driving K-12 Innovation. And each of the years, I'd say we have innovated and iterated the way in which we do this work, but it's never lost the kind of goal of helping educators think about what innovation means to the future of K-12 learning. And it's kind of unusual in that COSIN is focused on North America, US and Canada, but we believe that innovation is not bound by the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And so we're really excited to have a group of 100 leaders from around the world that help us each year kind of give their thoughts about their consensus of what are the most important things for innovation that we should be focusing in on. It is not a prediction report. It doesn't tell you the answer. Rather, it is a goal of giving us something to spark a conversation, to say, this is what 100 global experts think are the most important things, but what's the most important thing in our school or school system? And that's because education ultimately is a local activity. So with that, I'm going to turn it back because I think there's so much exciting work and activity that's going to happen. I don't want to take a moment away from our time together.
For sure. Thank you so much, Keith. We are so happy to be part of the project, Team COSIN, and to be able to be here today to share these amazing reports and facilitate awesome discussions. So before anything else, we want to be sure to thank our sponsors. Without them, this work truly is not possible. And so we thank them for their support and partnership. We have ClassLink, HP, Microsoft, ENA by Zayo, and Kajit. And we are very excited too that representatives from these organizations and companies are with us today to be facilitating, to be sharing definitions, case studies, all sorts of things. So we are really glad they're with us today. Laura's going to tell us a little bit about how it all works.
Absolutely. So as Keith mentioned, we've got a global advisory board. This year we have 16 countries and 29 of the United States represented, including Washington, D.C. And that doesn't count people who work in multiple states, who travel for their work, who live in one place but work in education in a different place. And this board really is the heart and soul of the initiative. It's how we come up with the great ideas that we're going to share today and in the publications. And we go through a process. So we start with a pre-survey that takes dozens and dozens of topics and narrows it down to 8 to 10 in each of our categories. That's 8 to 10 hurdles or barriers, accelerators, which are these global mega trends, and tech enablers. So these are tools. So narrow it down. We have discussions both via an asynchronous forum and then also through live discussion calls. Sneak peek, we're going to do something similar to our discussion calls today when we break out into small groups. Then we conclude with a post survey to narrow it down to the most important 3 topics in each of our categories, followed of course by our publications, which will launch at the end of the event today. And then this amplification, this discussion of how to put the tips and recommendations into action which also is part of what we're doing today. So back over to Steph, what are we talking about?
Yes, so we've announced our top topics. If you haven't seen them yet, we will go over them quickly because we will be talking all about them today. Our hurdles this year are attracting and retaining educators and IT professionals, designing effective digital ecosystems, and digital equity. Our accelerators or mega trends this year are building the human capacity of leaders, learner agency, and social and emotional learning. And our tech enablers or our tools are artificial intelligence, untethered broadband and connectivity, and rich digital ecosystem. I'm very excited. We have some new topics this year. So very much looking forward to today, where we will define those topics. We'll share case studies for each of these topics, and then we'll be sure to have some discussion time after we talk about hurdles and accelerators, and then again after we talk about tech enablers. Okay, so let's dive in. Hurdles. These are the roadblocks that force schools to slow down, prepare themselves, and make the leap. So it's really important that we talk through these. I mean, each of these areas is important, but how do we overcome the hurdles? And to do that, we're going to dive right into our first one, attracting and retaining educators and IT professionals. And I have the pleasure of sharing this definition, but I'm excited to join many advisory board members, sponsors, friends of the initiative will be joining us to share definitions and case studies today. So for this hurdle, these are outdated hiring practices, and keeping school staff are significant problems for school systems and countries. Many educators and IT professionals are exhausted. That I know. And it can be difficult for school systems to compete with industry employers. So here to share our first case study is Sandra Paul. She's the Director of Information Technology and Operations and Supervisor of School Librarians at the Township of Union Public Schools in New Jersey. And I'm going to share a little bit more about Sandra in the chat and her email. Those who are speaking today were invited to share their email in case you'd like to reach out and learn more. So we'll be sharing that information in the chat. Sandra, how are you?
Okay, doing well. This is one thing I always have to remember, unmute. Yeah, so I am muting myself. I'm doing really good. I was in the beginning when all of us that we, not attendees, but who are presenting, we talked for a little bit. Yes, and I'm quite sure most of you, not sure if you are, but I'm going through quite a little bit of few crises taking place right now as I'm talking to you. So, just before this, I had to have a meeting with the superintendent to let him know what was going on with Wi-Fi with one of my buildings. So when you get down to bandwidth, don't worry. I'm not presenting on that, but I know what it feels like. So just a little bit about what we're doing about retaining and acquiring educational and IT staff. There are a couple of things that we've been doing in the Township of Union Public Schools, especially when it comes to the IT staff. One of the things we've done is we have developed collaboratively with the local technical schools in the area. And what we have is that they do internships with our school district. So we've been able to use, facilitate them being able to do internships. So when they come here, which is we allow them to touch almost anything. So, they fix Chromebooks for us if they need to fix a Chromebook. Do we teach them how to use a smart board? We teach them basically how, we set up the network and how we do the printers and stuff like that. So that's, a couple of them. And every once in a while, we've, landed up basically, which is what I've tried to do, even turning around and hiring these interns once they're finished with their technical schools and they have their certifications and stuff like that. So we've done that as far as trying and staying on top of, all our work orders and the different technical initiatives we've done. The other thing we've done is we've developed a student IT team. So within the school, especially here at the high school, we're looking actually maybe to possibly even take it down to the middle school. The students actually help us sometimes with some of the IT work. Like right now I have one student that's helping us. He's a senior, so he's getting community hours. He's not being paid, but he has been helping us with changing out screens on Chromebooks, changing out screens on laptops, stuff like that here in the school district. Last year, I had a young man that actually he was helping us for about 2 years, worked with us during the summer, all for community hours. And actually, he started his own business to, now he's changing out screens for people's iPads. And, I've been making recommendations to other school districts for him and, telling them what a great job he does. So that's one of the things that we've done. I've also collaborated with our physical security team. So like I've collaborated. I have one person that actually works both for my department and physical security. So he's an actual physical security person. So he's here in the high school. He goes around making sure kids are doing what they're supposed to do rather than what they're not supposed to do. But in the afternoon, he comes by and he helps us out with making sure that, some of the things that we need done inside the school district is able to done. He's worked with me for about 5 years now. And what he has done is every summer we hire him back. He comes in, he helps us with stuff. So he knows the physical security, knows about, helping us with IT. And one of the things we started doing was I started actually having him trained on using certain things that are not dealing with an instructional IT. So for example, the door access system, the security cameras, those type of things. So he's been actually being trained on doing that type of IT work also. I'm hoping to actually have him become part of the actual IT department next year. It's in my budget to have him doing that. I also collaborate with the township. So I collaborate with the township where, the township helps us a lot with our video and audio equipment for our, school board meetings and for our TV studio things. Unfortunately, that's where I lack. I really don't have any skill level at all in AV, but I have more, stuff when it comes to the switching and the maybe the firewalls and actually using the end user devices. Now, in retaining them, what I've done is there are a couple of things that I've done with my staff. I have brand new staff. I have 3 staff members that are actually brand new to IT. And what I did was I actually went in and did a case study with other school districts within the state of New Jersey on what is the salary, what are they doing and stuff like that. Then I went back to my school board and my business administrator and superintendent and said, okay, all right, we have them here, but they're doing a little bit more than just IT work. They're, I have one person that's actually helping us out with security cameras. I have one person helping us with telephones. And then I have another person helping us. She's the backup to the actual network administrator. So I went in and I was like, hey, is there any way we can formulate to be able to increase their salaries and stuff like that? And the board bought it and they were able to do that. So they were able to increase their salaries. As far as the aspect of the teachers and stuff, one of the things we do is we have courses for our students to become teachers, and they actually go down to our lower levels, pre-K and kindergarten students, and they are part of a program that they shadow a teacher. So they're there with the students at, these are high school kids that are doing that. So they're able to do that. We also have
Sandra, I'm so sorry. I don't want to be, I'm like, I want you to keep going.
Too much. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're saying so many wonderful things. And so I'm like, I hate to stop you, but.
No, I have to stop.
Thank you. Well, and it's a great opportunity to have more of, share more of these tips and these recommendations and have more discussion within the breakout rooms. More to come, but thank you so much. Thank you for sharing those ideas, because that is what today is all about. And we're going to go ahead and move forward into designing effective digital ecosystems. And we actually have a video for this one from Kim Flintoff in Australia, who's going to try to define this topic in 5 seconds, again in 20 seconds. So watch now.
The technology we use in schools should enable learning and be relevant beyond the school gate. Look, the digital ecosystems we use in schools have to be relevant. They have to be connected. They have to work together. Interoperability is key. And that includes the new and emerging technologies like OpenAI, ChatGPT, the whole range of new technologies and new systems that might terrify us but are essential for the future.
I think he did pretty well. What do you think? Yes, clap, please. This is all about encouraging each other. But yes, so on to our next case study. We have Klaus Gregersen, for the head of studies at the Herning Gymnasium in Denmark. And Klaus, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your case study with us.
My pleasure, Stephanie. I'll be the next speak talker. I just try to share my screen and have a little presentation. Hopefully you can see it now. Yeah, and I take it from the start.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fine, thank you. I changed my point of view, not talking any longer about our IT system, but about the digital ecosystem that we are part of. And from that point of view, I present for you the 3 hurdles that in top of our agenda for 2023. First one is privacy. Privacy matters. This week, I renewed our subscription to Queer Web that our teachers are doing for surveys and quizzes. And we have strict regulation about privacy. And we must be compliant and are responsible for that. Back in 2020, the Privacy Shield felt an agreement between the European Union and US. That doesn't make our daily work with privacy easy. Now the replacement for the Privacy Shield, we expect to be adopted, and that will change, make compliance much easier. Next one is cybersecurity. We haven't had the same systematic approach to cybersecurity that we had to privacy. Both of them are fundamental for a sound and efficient ecosystem. This year, the European Union is launched the Network and Information Security tool. It has strict demands for critical infrastructure. Schools are not mandatory to apply, but we take the occasion to tighten up our cybersecurity. We see more and more problems, and we need to do better on that area. And the last one is our infrastructure. This week, my IT department launched a Python script. Each morning, the script will go to our server with our LMS and get all the appointments that our student advisors have with the students. And then they'll send it to our user management system so that the student can get a reminder about the appointment on the day. I don't consider that a solution more than a workaround, because it gives a lot of problems to fulfill the full potential about with AI, data visualization, and so on. We must look for another infrastructure with serverless architecture. We see on a national level that our written examination system is based on Amazon Cloud, and we have APIs to get the results and so on. So the way our system now is designed is not sufficient to be sure that in the long run we can fulfill the potential of AI and so on. That was the last one. I can see I'm 20 minutes over. So that's what I choose to spark the conversation.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing those important points and for staying in the time. Very good job.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Klaus. Thank you for joining us all the way from Denmark. Okay, we're moving on to our next hurdle, which is digital equity. And this has actually been a hurdle for the past 5 years. So this is an important one to discuss. Equitable access to quality digital technologies, internet, knowledge and skills, technology use, support, and digital content are imperative for all learners. And I'm excited to share that we actually have multiple case study shares for this topic because it is such an important one. And we're going to kick it off with Lisa Gustinelli, who's the Director of Instructional Technology at the St. Vincent Fair School in Florida. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm really happy to share some of the things that I've been doing with digital equity. You said that it's been on the docket for the past 5 years, but I've got to tell you that I've been working in this starting in 2011 with trips to Madagascar to help people get access to technology. So this is, and I'm big with the FCC and the Affordable Connectivity Program for broadband. So this case study is something I developed in our city. There was a philanthropy tank type of program for middle school and high school students where they could enter and get a grant. And so a group of middle school students here teamed up with Florida Atlantic University, where I'm also an adjunct, to promote digital equity. They presented their Shark Tank-like idea, which would be to teach, instead of using money just to buy technology for students, that they would empower them by teaching them design thinking. So they were one of 5 groups chosen out of hundreds. They were awarded $13,500. And they went to the Hope Rural School, which is a K-5 school for Guatemalan migrant children. They don't have to pay to go to school there. It's a nonprofit. And they set up something called the Idea Lab. So there we go on. So one of the factors, we said that students have to have knowledge and skills to use the technologies for service of learning. So their mission was to empower these students through education. As I said, not just the devices, but to teach them to be problem solvers, to then be able to go out in their community and make change. So they gave them robust content. They created a Wakelet with 38 project-based lessons on design thinking. They delivered the robots and supplies, and they also brought in experts in the field through Zoom lessons, such as a retired aerospace engineer who helped them with the MIT Scratch program. They gave them authentic, meaningful learning opportunities. One of the design thinkings was to design a house, a tiny house. Who would you use that house for? The homeless, maybe elderly living on their children's property. And this is an example of a prototype that was started with the children at that migrant school. This is the students working with those children. And the icing on the cake was on the ensure that educators have knowledge. This was the media specialist over on the left here. She enjoyed what they were doing so much that she actually decided to go back and get her master's degree in instructional technology. The school was sorry to lose her. That wasn't our planning when we did this, but she's going to come back and they have somebody really good there. The students are still working with Hope Rural School. We're actually going next Thursday again to do robotics and some science centers. And this was just a remark from the media center. I liked the second part where she said, the created lesson plans from Philanthropy Tank team and the social media interaction with students and teachers from FAU and other schools helped rural school students share their projects and visualize how other people can bring solutions and learn from each other. So it was students helping students, and we continue to try to enable these migrant children to be empowered with different educational tools.
Oh, what a great story. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa. And thank you so much for all your work on digital equity. Please 5 years is not, it has not been around much longer than that. Thank you for clarifying that. And again, for sharing your case study. It's wonderful to see the action that's taking place in this important hurdle. And next, I'm going to introduce Jerry Kemble from ClassLink, who is going to tell us about the next case study.
Yes. Hi, glad to be here and to share our case study. What I wanted to do was go deep in the heart of the classroom, and I have two videos, one that we're going to watch and the other one I'll place in the chat so you can watch it later. But these are two teachers that have been working for over a decade in digital learning, blended learning, and personalized learning. And I think that you'll find that it's digital equities like that Marushka doll, with all of the layers. If the equity is not there, it affects everything. And so I want you to listen as Diana Bailey tells you some of the things that they're working through in her 4th and 5th grade multi-age classroom. So.
Good morning. Happy February. I'm delighted to be speaking to you today, and that Jerry asked me to talk about my passion and speak to a challenge we are all facing in the education world. I'm Diana Bailey. I work for USD 497 in Lawrence, Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawks, and go Chiefs at this point, right? I am currently working in a multi-age classroom, 4-5. It's kind of an action research project we're working on to find some sustainable solutions to teacher shortage and large classroom sizes. But that's not why we're here today. I also have a vision of working with students with a blended personalized model that I kind of started to pilot with Jerry about 9 years ago. And that incorporates or leverages technology to help maximize our educating our youth today. And the accessibility using technology, in my opinion, really helps and benefits our students because it can help them create their own pace, place, and path in which to learn the curriculum, right? And then it enables me to differentiate in so many different levels. It pretty much multiplies me by 100 and enables me to make an individual education plan for each student. Furthermore, I really believe that our students need to be future ready, which means they need to be working on a digital platform quite frequently so that they understand the resources and things that they're utilizing. Just a quick background of kind of where I'm coming from with some of my ideas and things like that. I work in a very large school. We have about 479 this year students across 21 sections. You can kind of see the breakdown of our students of color and our students with disability and low SES. Like I said, our district, I think we have about 12 buildings. Our district started this blended learning initiative and getting technology into our students' classrooms about 9 years ago. We are now 1-to-1 iPads K5 and iPads K8 and MacBooks in the high school. I think this shift has been really, really important, especially as we went to remote learning. We were actually set up for quite a bit of success with this model going 1-to-1. There are always challenges and things like that. And one of them is that accessibility piece. So the Wi-Fi, whether we're in the building or students are at home, getting those devices in the students' hands. Can they check them out? Can they take them home? In high school, we say yes. I am an educator that I allow my elementary students, again, I'm 4-5, check out their iPad nightly if they choose to do so they can work from home. Also, if a student is absent, we go ahead and get that device in their hands so they can participate in the classroom if they're absent for whatever reason, an illness, COVID, things like that. I don't know from the building perspective, the district perspective about how expensive that component is, but I do know how important it is to have a device and the one-on-one in everybody's hand. Speaking from my own perspective and my own truth here, and I'll try to wrap it up. I know I live out in the country and my Wi-Fi is very difficult. So trying to manipulate projects and answer emails and doing all sorts of things in a digital age is very difficult if you don't have Wi-Fi and access to it. And I am a person with means. So I can go into town with a car and, go ahead and set up on a Wi-Fi at a library or a coffee shop. And our students just don't have that. So some of the other things that our district has done is to have hot spots available, buildings open a little bit later. Of course, again, sending home those hotspots. And then something that's kind of touchy that we don't always talk about is utilizing our phones as a mean with an app, and allowing students to use their phones in the classroom and at home to participate, and what that looks like. I really enjoy sharing my passion. I do hope we see digital equity become better over the years, and I look forward to hearing from you or answering any questions at another time. And thank you.
Wonderful. We're grateful for that shared story. Gabby, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to be clear, the accessibility she's talking about is access, right? We often use accessibility for those with accommodations and disabilities, but when she says accessibility in that video, she's talking about just access to things.
Right, that is correct.
Thank you for clarifying, Gabby. And thank you so much, Jerry, for joining us today and sharing the educator stories. These are important. And you said you'll be sharing another one in the chat, correct?
Yes, I'll put that in right now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll move forward. We've gone through our 3 top topics for hurdles, and we're moving forward in accelerators. So accelerators are real-world megatrends that drive the needs and skills expected of learners and practitioners. So we have 3 that we'll be sharing today. And Gabby Richard Harrington, who made her debut early, she kindly shared definitions for building the human capacity of leaders. So let's take a watch.
Leaders build their capacity 24/7. Give them time to do this during their workday. Leaders build their capacity all the time. They read and write, attend and present webinars, conferences, and podcasts, and freely share with others. Creativity, problem solving, well-being are constants for them. We can build more capacity if these leaders are given time and choice to do this important work during their workday. Everyone will benefit.
Oh, Gabby, I think you did an awesome job summarizing that and this important accelerator. And here to tell us more, to share a case study, is Dr. Kelly Mae Vollmer, and she is the superintendent of Desert Sands Unified School District in California. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much. It's great to be able to be here today. I'm not only the proud superintendent, but also the former CTO in Desert Sands. So it's great to be able to share with you today. Obviously, building our human capacity and our leaders, it's no surprise that it's an accelerator. If you really think about it, it's absolutely vital to continue to offer the very best opportunities to our students if we're building that capacity in the individuals that are working with them and leading them throughout the day and throughout their educational experience. So in Desert Sands, in order to build capacity, we hired a few years ago a director of leadership development. It was a new position for our district, and we partnered with a national organization called NISL, or the National Institute for School Leaders, and we created our very own Desert Sands Leadership Academy. The Desert Sands Leadership Academy takes about 15 to 20 individuals on a 1.5-year journey to produce very innovative solutions to systematic problems across the district. And they do this through action research projects. So as they're doing this, they're developing new skills, they're finding solutions to what's going on in our district. We're creating an environment for them that we hope encourages them to make mistakes and take great risks so we get better outcomes. And we very intentionally have our Chief Innovation and Information Officer, or our CTO, as it's more often called, as one of the instructors in this Leadership Academy so that we can ensure that there's a technology lens on all that they're doing. This has created an amazing leadership pipeline for us. Our certificated and our classified leaders build up their capacity, as do our teachers. And our director, in addition to running the academy that I mentioned before, works with every new principal for a year. And they also work with all of our assistant principals every single month. This is crucial during a time when people are leaving the profession at rates that we've never, ever seen before. And just to give you an example of the outcome, this year we were able to hire 6 assistant principals, 6 principals, 4 directors, and 1 assistant superintendent, all internally within our district. And 4 years back when we started this, we were looking for assistant principals and had none. So this is a huge change for us. So as I mentioned, at a time when it matters most, this really intentional focus on building human capacity has really developed a very robust leadership pipeline in our district, and we're very excited about the outcomes. Thanks for letting me share.
Wow, Kelly, that is such a wonderful success story. And Norton had a question for you in the chat really quick. Do the educators in the Leadership Academy spend time during the workday or at other times?
Great question, and we do it during their workday.
Awesome. That is so great. Thank you so much for sharing that story, and find Kelly in the breakout if you want to hear more. Wonderful. Okay, let's move forward. Very excited to talk about learner agency today. First timer to our list in this capacity. It's all about students as active choice makers in their education, reconceptualizing their role from that of student to that of learner. And combined with a strong learning environment, students could transform from order takers to innovators. Oh, that just is so empowering. So excited about that. And to tell us more, we're going to go and take a deep dive with Marie Bayrede. I really hope I pronounced your name right, Marie.
Thank you. It's Bayrede, and no one.
Oh, it's way more beautiful. It's much more beautiful when you say it. Thank you for being here, for Marie, and taking us on this mini deep dive into learner agency.
Oh, my pleasure. Today, we know a lot more than we did 20 years ago about the mechanisms by which schooling diminishes student creativity, student curiosity, and enjoyment of learning. We can use this knowledge to accelerate student achievement, satisfaction, and personalized deep learning. Imagine Gia. She has a little library under her mattress she thinks her parents don't know about. Past her bedtime, her bright eyes devour the pages as she follows Nancy Drew on thrilling adventures. Cozy in her little nest under the covers, she thinks about how good she is at solving puzzles, just like her hero. She's a little tired going to school in the morning, but wonderful news is waiting. Her class is going to have a reading challenge. Starting with A Wrinkle in Time, she's given a list of great books to choose from. Her teacher shares that whoever reads the most pages each day will win a candy. This is a challenge that Gia is up for. Every evening, she forces herself to read just a bit extra so that she can win the morning's prize. It worked. The teacher was delighted to let her parents know she read more pages than ever, and Gia felt very proud knowing she had worked hard. That night, it felt good to her to go to bed without the pressure of reading. She told herself that she'd get back to Nancy Drew soon, but somehow school and activities just kept her too busy. Gia's agency around reading had diminished. Instead of reading out of curiosity and enjoyment, Gia began reading for rewards and good grades. Regrettably, it is more the rule than the exception that students work to earn grades rather than enjoying learning. They game the system to get the most reward for the least effort. They themselves are convinced they wouldn't work hard unless someone made them. And since they believe it to be true, it is. Learner agency feels a lot like Gia reading under the covers at night. What Seymour Papert referred to as hard fun. Agentic learners take ownership of their learning and academic career because they have both the will and the skill to do so. Will refers to the quality of the learner's motivation. The over 20 years of science behind self-determination theory says that intrinsic motivation and other high quality forms of motivation tend to occur in an environment that meets the learner's basic psychological needs. And I'm sure you've heard them before: autonomy, mastery, relatedness. Skill refers to the quality of a learner's ability to productively apply their motivation. Metacognitive skills include the ability to plan, monitor, evaluate, and make changes to their behaviors in order to confront challenges ever more effectively. When students have both the will and the skill, they often get to experience the thrill of being intrinsically motivated learners, of doing a task purely for the enjoyment or satisfaction of it, of experiencing a state of flow where time falls away and they become engrossed in their task, of working for understanding or out of curiosity instead of receiving rewards or avoiding punishments. When learner agency is engaged, the learners themselves become the most impactful accelerators. Thank you.
Oh, Marie, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. I have a Gia in my house. Her name's Eloise, and she loves to read every night before bed. So that is a good reminder. How do we keep the thrill, right? How do we ignite that in our learners? Thank you so much for sharing this deep dive, this mini deep dive
Pleasure.
with us today. And moving on, let's move forward to social and emotional learning. This is a core function of education, is building skills and understanding for mental, social, and emotional well-being. Educators are challenged to think about how social emotional needs are enhanced or diminished with varying uses of technology and reimagined norms. So here to share our case study today is Øystein Johannessen. I hope I said that one right too. The Deputy County Governor of Trøndelag region in Norway.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Kosen for having me on today. Next slide, please. My topic today is social and emotional learning in the Norwegian national curriculum. And I will be touching on three main points. The first one being the OECD backdrop. Secondly, on how social and emotional learning is embedded in the Norwegian curriculum. And my third point is about highlighting the importance and relevance of social and emotional learning in the world of today. So what are the skills that drive well-being and social progress? An OECD report from 2015 shows that both cognitive and social and emotional skills play a significant role in improving economic and social outcomes. Social and emotional skills are the kind of skills involved in achieving goals, working with others, and managing emotions. The figure in this slide shows a categorization of skills based on some of their most important functions. Learning appropriate ways of showing positive and negative emotions and managing stress and frustration is a lifelong pursuit, especially when dealing with challenging life events. Next slide. Social learning and development are one of 4 core principles in the national curriculum in my home country, Norway. And social and emotional learning is closely linked to the importance of an inclusive learning environment. Dialogue is central to social learning, and the schools must convey the values and importance of a listening dialogue in order to cope with differing views in discussions in the classroom. In meeting the students, the teachers must promote communication and collaboration that gives the students the courage and confidence to express their own opinions and to speak up on behalf of others. Learning to listen to other people and at the same time argue for one's own views gives students a basis for handling disagreements and conflicts and for seeking solutions together. Collaboration and learning shared responsibility are a core activity. And not last but not least, in terms of technology, students are expected to be critical thinkers in the digital domain. Next slide. So why is social and emotional learning so important? Well, I think some of the answer to that question is quite obvious. The world of yesterday no longer exists. The war in Ukraine has taught us that we need to rethink and reinforce our democratic ideals. Climate change and uncertainty about the future addresses the need to develop resilience among our students. And in Norway, we have over the last decade sadly seen a rise in the number of students reporting that they suffer from so-called psychological unhealth. Next slide. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best for the upcoming discussion. Sadly, I have to leave, but I hope this could shed some light on the importance and the inner workings of social and emotional learning. Thank you.
Thank you. We are so glad that you could join us today and to share your case study. All right, everyone. It's time for discussion. It's time to get into our breakout rooms, and we want to be sure to be mindful of time to maximize all creating connections and having important conversation. And we do have a question for you today for your discussions. But first, let's talk about code of conduct really quick. If you've been on a discussion call, these are not new to you, but it warrants sharing one more time. So here's what we can expect in our breakout rooms. We would invite you to speak from your experience and welcome others to speak from theirs. After all, we are amplifying voices today. Step up when you have something to share and step back and make space for all the voices to be heard in your breakout room. Listen to understand, not to wait for your turn to talk. That is something that I read and was like, yes, that is important always. And it's okay to disagree, but please do so with curiosity and not hostility. So our question is, what advice would you give to educators and IT professionals to help them innovate in 2023? And we will, Laura, would you kindly share the slides in the chat, and you can use this as a note-taking space. This is optional. What we want more than anything is for you to have time to discuss this important question and introduce yourselves, get comfortable, and just have a really open and honest discussion. And what we'll ask when you share out is that you share one idea for the sake of time, although feel free to take in the notes, put all of your ideas in there and share your voices there as well. And again, thank you to our sponsors who are facilitating our breakout rooms today. And I think we're going to go ahead and open up the rooms. Please let us know if you have any issues getting into a breakout room. We'll spend 15 minutes, it's fast, in the breakout rooms, and we'll return here. Thank you so much, everyone. I almost panicked. I didn't have my run of show handy. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am so excited to hear about the amazing discussions taking place in the breakouts today. Hopefully you have designated your summarizer who will share your one statement. As you can see, Laura is playing. I think you could, yeah, I can see it, so I know you can see it. And we are going to be zooming along just like this amazing card that she's designed here. Sharing our advice to help educators and IT professionals innovate this year. Okay, it looks like everyone is back. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Breakout room number 1. Who is your summarizer?
Hello, we talked about a lot of things, but the one that I wanted to highlight was to get students involved, since teachers are so overwhelmed with day-to-day things, and then also just have the students have that voice and choice. The example was this having STEM Girls, which is an internship program that they work then with the lower grades. It's a K-12 school that shared that. So the teachers could learn along with the students and really engage, students engaging other students.
I love that, Kathleen. Thank you. And I think there's something so powerful in what we've heard a number of times today is how getting students involved really makes a difference. And it's such an opportunity for them as well. So thank you for sharing. Group 2, you're up.
Sure. So I'll try and summarize. Everyone can check out the notes if you want to see comments from specific folks. But as we synthesized all that together, there was a lot that we've learned over the past couple of years of the pandemic. And we've learned things from data that's been collected, from surveys and discussion with our communities, from assessment data, and from our own experiences, and the experiences of all of our teachers, staff, and leadership. And bringing all of those lessons learned together, as a foundation for building is really key. We have to recognize what we've learned. We have to not be scared of the bad things that happened, but also really focus on the good things that we learned. Be careful about just regressing back to what we knew before, because that would kind of throw out our learnings, and we are learning organizations. So how do we take what we learned and use that as a foundation to build towards positive change to improve student outcomes, and make sure that we communicate that in a way that is appropriate for all the different audiences that we serve.
Agreed. There is no going back now, right, Michael? We cannot, and we should not. And that is why we are all here. So thank you so much. That was a wonderful summary. And we will move forward to group 3.
So I'm going to speak for group 3. The first thing we said was permission to fail fast, fail forward. Creative yeses versus nos right away from the tech departments. Make sure that education is driving the change and the technology and the students, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. Embrace new technologies, look for opportunities, not the negative stuff, including ChatGPT, etc. Yes. Take time to research what is successful, relationships matter. And the one I want to add, because I'm just thinking about it now. I mean, we keep talking about going back to normal, but for students out of classes for 3 years, we can take advantage that they don't know what normal was, because normal wasn't so great. So use it. Use it.
You said it. Oh, that's great. And what is normal and who wants to be normal, right?
And in many places, normal doesn't exist, really. You're coming to college for the first time, or high school for the first time, or middle school for the first time. Nobody knows what normal is. Use it.
Said it. You said it. Oh, excellent. Thank you, Gabby. Okay, our next group, group 4.
Hi, I'm Ed McCaveney from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was going to represent group 4, I think. If anybody else chimes in, we'll see. But the in our discussions, Shira Abshire talked about how we have problems that are crying out for solutions, and that we need to fix those before others try to fix it for us. And with that, we also need, innovation takes time. So we need to give time and space in ways to collaborate together and build those collaborations so that we can figure out what works and try to replicate that. So what things do we want to keep moving forward? But in that same capacity of collaboration, Rich pointed out that we're building networks. COSN is a network. We have a network of people from around the globe here on this project. In Pittsburgh, we have what's called the Remake Learning Initiative, which is actually going now replicated across the country and around the world in different areas. And with that, we're building these networks to help foster groups and deal with, all of us are, big and small districts and things. We have different nuanced needs, but also outside influences and stuff, whether it's competition from a private school or charter school, or, but then at the same time, there's in COSN, they've talked about the surveys that we do in studies. There's a lot of leaders that are going to be retiring. But at the same time, there's just so much work. The ability to build that time into there to innovate and work with projects, we need more human capacity. We can have one great leader, but there's just not time for that person to do everything. So how do we build these capacities and build collaborations across different leaders and mold the future leaders that are in underrepresented populations to intentionally build that inclusive innovation? So building that capacity, dealing with time and space, helping foster networks of collaboration and opportunities, not just siloed type of initiatives. As another thing COSN pointed out in a past survey was that the districts that have dealt better with certain types of change are the ones that didn't have that weren't very siloed. They had a more collaborative leadership approach to begin with. So that was a few of our ideas that we touched upon in our conversation.
I'll jump in real quick because you'd be disappointed, Ed, if I didn't speak up. Is that we mentioned that without risk taking, there's probably not innovation, because it's really easy to stay right in the middle of the river and coast along. But sometimes you got to go down the rapids and take a little risk and not be afraid, as Gabby had said, to fail forward and just.
It's funny, not to harp on that, but so in Pittsburgh, we have the Fred Rogers, and a lot of people quote Fred Rogers all the time, but there's a group there that focuses on play and playful learning. We need time to play with new technologies and try them out to figure out what's worked. But if there's so many things out there that are thrown at, sometimes it's like, hey, we just need something for this. Let's pick something. And it's not the best approach sometimes. You need time to research and play with things.
That's exactly right. Y'all covered a lot of ground in your time, and so many important points. And we hope that today, like you said, creating that strong network, and we hope that today's summit and COSN and this initiative really give an opportunity to create that strong network and to build the human capacity and take those risks and learn from others. So thank you so much for sharing. And now I've lost track. That was group 5. That was group 4. Now we're on to group 5. Group 5, where are you at?
So this is Marie, and I stole the facilitation from Jason by being confused. So if Jason wants to speak up, feel free. Otherwise, I'll share.
You go.
Thank you. Okay, so our key point is that the acceleration of AI technology is going to be so rapid that our previous ideals that we've been talking about forever for shifting educational approaches, they're now unavoidable. There is no other option. You can't fall back. And I think that's kind of what we've been hearing from the other groups as well. Does anybody else want to add to that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that important discussion. And we're moving on to group 7.
Righty. I'll go ahead and speak for group 7. We had this great amount of brainstorming and discussions, and you can check our slide there. One thing that really stood out to us was the idea of strategic planning. And strategic planning is a wonderful process that we do. But what we talked about was, how do we balance the idea of something that is static to something that has built-in processes and practices that we're able to revisit and add elements to ensure ongoing innovation can occur over time. And that we need to think about that, is how are we working that in, not looking at it in 5 years, how are we looking at it during the time frame, and bringing in the stakeholder voice, community voice. What are the needs of our community? And one thing that really stood out to us is that idea of we can take something small, and it might seem that, oh, that's like a, kind of a small idea, but a big bang for the buck. And so it's like, don't think that innovation has to be enormous. It needs to sometimes you need to take steps to get to what that ultimate outcome and that might be bigger. And so really one thing we also talked about, that idea of peer districts being models, being drivers, where sometimes, again, we talk about our stakeholders for our strategic planning in our community as just in our local community itself. What about the neighboring districts as partners around us as well? Because you can learn from one another too. So leverage your greater community in your area as well.
Oh, that's so important, Jane. Really good point. I think the strategic planning, that is something that we saw too. I love the small but impactful. That is, I think so many people think it has to be this big grandiose thing, this idea, that is not necessarily what innovation is. It can be a small change that just, creates something so much larger and so much bigger than anyone ever expected. So thank you for sharing your group's points. And our last group, group 8.
Okay, so I'm Vince Humes. I'm going to try and summarize what our group did. We had a lot of conversation around a lot of the accelerators and hurdles and everything, but it really boiled down to most of the discussion was around we need to focus on the people side of all of these things, whether it's staff, students, whoever, on all of these things, because we were really focusing on their perspective is critical in understanding whether, how the hurdles are impacting us or the accelerators might help us, and seeing it from their point of view, not just ours, and taking that and trying to come up with the solutions to some of the challenges we face.
That's right, Vince. People first always, right?
For sure.
Oh, wonderful. Well, it sounds like the discussions were really fruitful and rich opportunities to discuss our hurdles and accelerators, and even our tech enablers came up. And now, I see that Laura's been doing a wonderful job of summarizing our conversation. Is there anything that she maybe has missed as she's jotting down all these wonderful notes and ideas? I'll just take a second to open it up in case. I hope that's okay, Laura. And then we'll move forward.
Absolutely okay.
The one thing that our group talked about that we didn't hear from the other groups possibly is we're in budget seasons right now. We're getting ready the budgets are now going to be going through. What gets budgeted gets focused on. It's going to go to the school board. It's going to be approved, and that's what's going to go for next year. So how do you intentionally embed in innovative approaches in budgeting or thinking about the future when you're in your budgeting season, whether it be staffing, whether it be refresh cycles, whatever it might be, instructional approaches? What does that mean to what we're doing for, talking about now, but it's the future we're thinking about too. So that's a fine balance that we have there.
Definitely an important point to bring up.
I just want to add one thing that came from our colleague in Peru. Jackson talked about having an innovation team that would be made up of students, staff, community members, bringing everyone together when we talked about focus on the people, but having them not just be talking, but being part of a team that then tries to come up with the ideas to solve the problems.
That's great. And it can't just be one person, right? A collaboration is what's really going to make it happen. And then it's not just the ideas, but actually seeing it follow through, right? Because we can all have wonderful ideas, but we have to bring them to fruition. Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you all. We will continue on as we truck into our tech enablers. We're going full steam ahead. Laura, are you going to share the slide? Thank you. Thanks so much. We'll accelerate through our group discussion notes and we'll talk about tech enablers. All good. Our tech enablers are the tools that grease the wheels for schools and surmount hurdles and leverage accelerators. So let us move forward with our first tech enabler, which is artificial intelligence, a very hot topic these days.
Artificial intelligence, what a difference a few months make. Artificial intelligence, technologies that mimic the complexity of the human brain, decision-making, learning, problem-solving, and even creativity. While this happens differently using algorithms, training rules, and massive data sets, it can sometimes surpass human capabilities using machine learning, natural language processing, deep learning, and the currently popular generative tools.
AI is the simulation of human intelligent processes by machines. AI mimics the complexity and function of human brain processes. It includes data sets, rules, and various algorithms. Sometimes AI surpasses human capabilities.
Fascinating stuff. And special thanks to Jason and to Michael for sharing those definitions with us. And we are going to introduce Ariana Blazik, who will be sharing. She is a teacher, trainer, and course designer from Croatia, and she will be sharing with us a case study on AI. Ariana?
Hello, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with you. Laura, can you please share your slides, because all my slides are there. And what I would like to share with you is how we empower teachers here in Europe to bring AI into the classroom. As you will also read in the chat, I work as an external expert for European SchoolNet, where I develop materials for Code Week. And as part of Code Week, 2 years ago, we developed a MOOC for teachers, AI Basics for Schools. It was very well received. Almost 3,000 participants joined with a very high rate of completion. I would say mostly because it was centered around peer learning. A lot of sharing was there in the MOOC, crowdsourcing. So in the end, we came up with really dozens of lesson plans and activities that teachers could immediately implement in the classroom on the next day. And also they shared a lot of different resources where they could learn about AI and how to bring it into the classroom, which inspired them, and they created their own materials, which were then shared again with the community. And also they shared a lot of tools and technologies, simple, easy to use, user-friendly, that their students even in primary schools could use. And as Jason said in the video, what a difference a couple of months make. So I would now ask you, Laura, to move to the next slide. And yes, what a difference 2 years make indeed in artificial intelligence, especially these days, what we are seeing is happening. So we are now developing a new MOOC. In this time, its title is Unlocking the Power of AI in Education. And I'm really excited to be working on the content. There will be a lot of new things, not only ChatGPT, but also many other things that teachers can use, a lot of sharing as well. And also another thing that we are very proud of here in Europe, next slide please, is the ethical guidelines on the use of artificial intelligence and data in education. This has been prepared by an expert group for European Commission, and where you can find concrete AI and data use examples from schools in Europe. Then also how schools can plan for effective use of AI and data in schools. And what I think is really important, how teachers can develop AI literacy skills and what are these competencies for ethical use of data and AI that teachers need in the field of professional development, digital resources, teaching and learning assessment. So thank you so much for this. I really liked it. I love being on the board, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ariana. That's so important. And it's always wonderful to hear how AI is being utilized, and thinking about ethics is of the utmost importance as well. Thank you so much for sharing your case study. And we're going to move forward to untethered broadband and connectivity. And while Michael is here with us today, he also kindly recorded our definitions for this tech enabler. So let's give it a watch.
Ubiquitous broadband internet, no cables, for learning anytime, anywhere. Untethered broadband and connectivity. We mean ubiquitous broadband internet access without the need for physical cables, embedded into computing devices that are designed to support student and teacher mobility all day. These technologies will enable robust, connected learning anytime, anywhere.
Thank you, Michael. And to share a case study on untethered broadband and connectivity, we have Norton Gusky. And Norton is the educational technology broker at NLG Consulting, and he's in Pennsylvania. Welcome, Norton.
Hello. I just had a major problem that I have two monitors and my second monitor went out. So I don't know if I can see what I'm going to actually be sharing. So let's see what happens here. Can you see on your screen?
We see that you've started screen sharing, but it's blank.
Okay. I don't think I can share my slides because my monitor went out. And I have no idea why it went out. It went out a minute before I was to go on.
That's how it always turns out, right? Got to be agile.
So you should have a copy of my slide deck. Can you share for me?
Let's see, Lara, is that something that you can provide? Our tech guru.
I am pulling it up, but it might take me a couple seconds. So Norton, how about you dive in and we'll get it up as soon as possible.
What I will first want to say is that I've been involved trying to solve this problem for many years. I was a director for a school district outside Pittsburgh, and over 15 years ago, I tried solving this problem, especially providing access for students and community members that were in some of our lower income areas. And at that time, I was not successful. And I'm going to share with you an example of a project that happened in Pittsburgh. It's still going on, that began about 2 years ago, called Everyone Online. And that project was driven by an attempt to deal with the hurdle of digital equity. And once we get the slides up, I'll then share with you a quotation from someone who's a COSIN member who has a wonderful way of looking at this. And if we can't get it up, I'll then just summarize what I was going to say. Where do we stand, Laura? Are you able to bring it up?
Yeah, I've
you
got
don't
the
have
link.
permission.
It says I don't have permission. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just explain that I was trying to address the issue of digital equity. And this project also tries to look at this idea so that we're really looking at, for kids, we're having basically the kind of access that we have for free lunch or for breakfast. We're providing them with that access, just as Michael was saying in his explanation. So without any kind of wires, without cables, how can we make that happen? And in Pittsburgh, a group came together led by what was called MetaMesh. MetaMesh is a community-based organization that basically pulled together resources, starting with Carnegie Mellon University, and then reaching out to the University of Pittsburgh, which has a 535 tower, the largest academic building in the United States. It's called the Cathedral of Learning. And they were able to put basically a wireless connecting, sending out a signal and then bringing in another group called Kimber, which is the Keystone Initiative for Network-Based Education and Research, which provided a digital backhaul so that you could then have fiber that was connecting to a series of towers in 3 different communities. One community that was more rural, one community that was more suburban, and one community that was inner city. And by providing that backhaul and having then receivers that on individual homes, they were able to bring that signal to people who didn't have access before. And what's key is not only the people, but where would the funds come from? So Carnegie Mellon University, through its Computer Science for All program, was able to help provide some initial funding. And then additional foundations came forward. And then we all know, as was mentioned earlier, that we have what's called the Affordable Connectivity Program that the FCC here in the United States has put in place. So all the people who are part of this program are now receiving their services at no cost. We have MetaMesh who's providing the service. We have basically the infrastructure's in place that's through the state. And then we have private foundations and people working with the schools, working with the communities, really bringing together a digital ecosystem. So we've attacked a hurdle, we've provided then accelerators, and we've pulled it all together with a tech enabler, which is now having this idea of having basically broadband and connectivity for all people, all students within the community. If we have access to my slide deck, hopefully we'll be able to share that. I have a link, and there's also then a video that could be shared so that people can get a better sense, because MetaMesh wants to take this concept and wants to basically build it out, not only in the United States, but also in other places in the world, because the idea of using that digital ecosystem to help solve the problem is the key.
Agreed. And what a great example, Norton. You've touched on the hurdles, the accelerators by using a tech enabler. I'd love that. Right. Thank you. And if we can't access your slides now, we'll be sure to make that accessible so people can see those and can watch the video. And we'll move forward to rich digital ecosystems.
Rich digital ecosystems consist of thoughtfully interconnected platforms that empower teachers and students. School leaders design rich digital ecosystems that consist of interconnected technology platforms, where the technology melts into the background and the focus is on using the tools to empower learning. These interconnected systems of online and virtual spaces can span formal school settings and beyond.
Oh, so great. And thank you to Richard Platts for sharing those definitions. We're going to give you just a little quick sneak peek because we do not have a case study for this one today, but what we do have is a little preview of the publication and what this rich digital ecosystem looks like within the publication. You can see Karina is still with us. Her artwork is featured within the reports, and we are going to go ahead because time is of the essence and roll our sleeves up again and get into discussion. So our question for this shorter discussion breakout session is, what concrete steps can educators take now to leverage tech enablers, overcome hurdles, or take advantage of accelerators, or all, like Norton's example? And again, you can use your slides for the group and to take notes. And thank you to our sponsors who will be participating in breakouts again. And Laura, remind me, will we be in the same breakouts or will we be joining new breakout rooms?
Yes. Yeah, so you'll be in the same breakout groups that you were before. So hopefully that makes it easier to just dive right in. And with that, here we go.
Thank you. Let us know if you have any issues getting in, but happy discussing. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We are very excited to hear about the concrete steps that you've been discussing, and I hope that everyone has joined us because we are going to hop right in, and group 8 is going to start this time. I'm switching it up.
Okay, wasn't prepared for that.
Sorry, Vince.
Okay, we're just gonna, I didn't have time to write it down. So just in a nutshell, we were looking at all these things, and our conversation was around like we have these, with the enablers, the hurdles, the accelerators. We also have a couple different ways we have to deal with every day. So we have, we're trying to look at being innovative in instruction and learning, but then we have this compliance side over here that keeps kind of sucking us away from what we probably really want to do. And so it's like, well, how do we deal with that? So a really good suggestion was going back to the strategic plan and writing down where are we, where do we want to be, and we can then address all of those things and then hopefully move ourselves in a positive direction, leveraging all those things that this report tells us we should be focusing on.
And I want to just add one other thing that came out of the conversation about efficiencies, that if we really can address and find ways so that we can do our jobs better, and by using some of the new kinds of tools that give us reports, that give us the information quicker and faster, we then have time to then be more innovative.
Good point. And Vince, Laura has a question for you. What does TV plan stand for? But
I don't know. Where is she seeing that at? I'm drawing a blank.
We're hearing, strategic plan, Laura?
Strategic plan.
Was it strategic plan?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Apologies.
You just
Audio
misheard
cut
him.
out
Yeah.
for a second. Thank you.
A TV plan sounds interesting, but we'll stick with this. I think the strategic plan will do it. Thank you both for sharing what was going on in group 8. How about group 7?
Okay, I'll share for group 7. We had a lively conversation, and main key points that came out of it was the idea of being flexible, permission to play, but ultimately, like the other group just spoke about, is you must understand your intended outcomes. What are you trying to achieve? What are the learners trying to achieve? What are you choosing to support that? So you must come up with that idea of intended outcomes. Then you go through the testing, playing, permission to understand more about what different strategies and tools will meet it, being flexible to learn through it. And then you now analyze what was in what we called an incubator is, you might have incubator classrooms while the others are doing core, but it's like, how do you then take that information you've learned from it, and then you create buy-in with your staff and, and the actual, in general, teachers and staff, in order to then create the plan to then implement. And so it's really, it's this whole process, but you can't just say, I'm going to do this tomorrow. There's so many phases to it. But one thing that really stood out to was flexible, play, explore, take chances, with still honoring that we have intended outcomes and strategic ways we look at it. But you must be open to doing that.
Agreed. And so important to have that balance, right? Of there is a plan, but let's give ourselves some grace and the ability to be flexible and play, of all things. Wonderful. Group 5, eager to hear what your group discussed.
Okay, so all of these things need resources. That was one of the key aspects, but there are potentials to leverage between them. For example, AI may be able to assist around human resourcing, particularly around the more process-oriented aspects such as systems management and updating computers and things of that nature. There's also the linkage between connectivity funding and improvements to digital equity. But the key takeaway was that there still needs to be the clear focus on the classroom and maintaining that as a priority around all of these initiatives. Because sometimes we can get focused off on various aspects without necessarily keeping that core focus.
The classroom and the students first, you said it. Certainly. Oh, excellent. Group 4.
Yes, I have to say I have the best team ever. And one of the things that we discussed is our own commitment to this report. We felt that sometimes we love it, we read it, but we don't do a great job of unpacking it with our own teams. We don't do a great job of amplifying it in our personal network. So that's one commitment that I think all of the people in our team said, hey, let's give ourselves some space and time to just read the report, identify some of these things so that we can then have clear actions that we want to take. And then, so that's just a shameless plug on CoSIN. The other thing that I think where our conversation resonated was around environment, ecosystem. And it was a two-prong approach. It was both the human ecosystem that we're building and the digital ecosystem that we're building around, around our actual systems and IT pieces. So it's imperative that we recognize that we can't keep losing teachers. We can't keep losing IT staff. And so we must then commit to creating supports to create ways to attract and respond to the new generation. So really building that human capital, and of course, creating then pipeline for leadership role to strengthen, influence, and empower those ones that we want to enable. And then from the IT perspective or from the systems point of view, making sure that we include all of the folks around the table that are key stakeholders. That includes our special ed, including universal learning design, including not just curriculum that we want to review, but security, IT, multilingual. We want to ensure that we are strategic around purchases, strategic around implementation, so that as we're thinking about this interoperability, that we are keeping in mind the various needs so that we can include and support a strong ecosystem that really does meet the needs of teachers, of scholars, and everyone around the table.
Wonderful. And what you said is so important, and what Laura wrote here, leveraging these reports. What we want is for them to be resources, not just for today, but for next month, for a few months from now. They are a resource. And how do we go back to them and, remember the things that we're discussing today to drive forward the innovation? Thank you, Betty. Appreciate that very much. Group 3.
Hi, this is Monica. I'll share for our group. So I think a word that sort of came out of our group and our leadership team was being intentional. We started out our discussion really thinking about, very similar to what was just said, that taking that report, working with your educators, identifying a strategic plan with them, what would be successful? How do you do that? How do you align that to your missions and goals? And then I think that kind of retreat to set those goals and set that strategic plan, but to share successes. And then I think another two things that resonated was to remove obstacles that are creating the problem. So, an example was just brought up with SSO. It removes a lot of obstacles. While different folks have different thoughts on that, it did make it easier for one group's team. And then lastly, maybe identify a rubric that says when to cut something loose that is a technology piece that isn't working, or when to embrace that and begin to share amongst the greater group. So I think those were a couple of the key things that our leadership group came out with.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Monica. A rich discussion, that's for sure. And group 2, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure. So first, let me apologize to my group. I actually hit that leave breakout session button right when it came up, so I left a little bit early. But I'll summarize our discussion. We talked a bit about AI, and we talked a bit about broadband. But the main overarching theme that came across was, don't be afraid of the new technologies and how they interrupt your current practices. Instead, focus on what new activities and learning opportunities these unlock, and think about how you can engage learners and the classroom and discussion groups, for example, with ChatGPT, by having it generate a response to a prompt and then using that as the foundation for discussion. What did it get wrong? What did it get right? What should we be concerned about here? As a way to use the tool in a new practice rather than how it may change your old practice. I did put ChatGPT's answer to this question in my slide again, but I also noted that it doesn't know the 2023 hurdles, accelerators, and tech enablers. So it's probably basing its answer on the 2021 version. So
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Michael. That was wonderful. And I love that you added that there. Group 1, our final group share out for the summit.
The pressure is on, let me tell you. When you know someone in your committee that's a facilitator, it's not hard to deny the request when you're voluntold you're going to do the presentation. So we said that it's important to develop a PLN, personal learning network, that supports teacher agency.
And one of the suggestions that could be incorporated in this is AI learning, where it can personalize suggestions for the teachers. The other thing we said is it's vital to provide time during the workday to give teachers access to technology, training, and peer-to-peer tutoring and support, because often we give teachers technology. Here's your Chromebook, have fun with it. And then you have to look at the end of the day. Well, when am I going to do this? Well, the district's not providing me any time, so I have to go home. So do we go out to eat tonight instead of having a nice dinner because I have to work on this Chromebook and I have to create lesson plans? I don't even know how to do that yet. And I have to have everything ready by Monday. There's something wrong with that system. To get teachers more on board, you really need to integrate it into their contractual time to where they don't feel like they're taking on anything in addition and not being paid for it. Too often, all of us are educators. We know as other duties assigned on your contract, you end up doing all kinds of things that you don't get paid for and really don't have a say in it. I hate to think that as we move forward being innovators, if we really want our people to buy in, we really have to provide them time during the day without students, and then maybe with students, but that whole hour is dedicated to where everybody plays with the technology at the same time.
Oh, wonderful. I think that during the day, that is a real light bulb, and I know you all know it, but you know, we're asking so much, like you said, Robert, like we're asking so much of our educators and our IT professionals. How do we set everyone up for success? Like, you know, it just, it speaks to a lot of the, you know, hurdles and accelerators and tech enablers that are in this report this year. Thank you for the share out and for all of these discussions that took place today. Hopefully, Laura, I see her, you know, not furiously, but quickly writing all of your ideas. And I thank you so much for these discussions, because I hope that they fueled you in your work, but we will also be amplifying all of your voices in, you know, the recapping and the messaging that we produce from today's summit. I want to be mindful that we are 3 minutes over, and all of the drum roll, please, everyone. The reports, the DrivingK K-12 innovation reports are going to be available now, and please read them, share them, amplify them. There are so many wonderful tips, recommendations, case studies, you name it, helpful resources for you to use every day. And so, you know, as we were saying, this isn't, it's on us, but also, you know, to share and to maximize and amplify, but also, like, more importantly, thank you. I can't express my gratitude to everyone for being here today, for everyone who on our ad board for contributing to this important work. Very, 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 just have so much gratitude in my heart for this project, for you all, and that our reports are out now and for everyone to enjoy, and they're available. So be sure to download them. They're free. So be sure to do that and to share with your networks. And if you share, please use our hashtag DrivingK12 Innovation. And with that, if you're interested in being part of our advisory board for next year, please be sure to fill out our interest form. We are always so grateful for the time that our ad board contributes to this project. It is so meaningful and valuable to so many. So thank you so much. And please be sure to fill out the form if you are interested. And last but certainly not least, thank you. I mean, look at all of these names and all of these bullets. It takes a village, it takes school systems around the world to build our advisory and have this advisory board and this amazing group of experts. So thank you so much for all your contributions this year in this cycle. And thank you too to our sponsors, ClassLink, HP, Microsoft, ENA by Zayo, and Kajit for all that you've done for us this whole project cycle. Thank you so much to all of our supporting organizations. And also special shout out from me to our editorial committee, because you are such a help. And to, of course, the whole COSIN team, including Lara and Karina, who is not here, who's with her sweet little twins. And thank you for the extra time, everyone, today. This is such meaningful work, and I'm so happy that we get to amplify the voices of so many, including yours. And thank you for being a part of today's summit. So bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Everyone. Until next year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your day.